Yes. And now it's turn 5.
Hey, and thank you for coming, and I'm so sorry about all that technical difficulties. I'm just learning how to put most of this stuff together, so a lot of it has been a learning process through and through. I appreciate you guys going through these speed bumps with me. A lot of it has been brand new. And like I said, this wasn't part of the course. You know, I didn't think I'd ever want to be involved in something like this until I got as involved. And thank you for coming. And I'm so sorry. I'm thrilled, regardless, to be here tonight. To begin with, I've always had a passion for PvP, teamwork, competition, and the utilizers of all three elements put together. I like Destiny, clearly. It's something that I've been a part of pretty much since when it first came out. You'll get to hear about other people that I bring on the show today and then hopefully in the future, so you can see about their perspective and see exactly what maybe you could take from them or even see if there's any similarities. So, again, I wanted to start this show because I felt that Trials in itself is popular. I know it seems like an oxymoron statement, but at the same time, it brought a person like me back, a person that was kind of looking for a competitive edge, looking for a teamwork, team-based playlist of any sort. And Trials did it for me, and it does it for a lot of other people that I'm friends with, and a lot of people that I've made friendships with through LFG and then friends of friends. So to begin here today, I want to start with introducing you to two individuals. First, right below me, Frickin' Sweet. He's got a very interesting name, but man, he's got such a giant heart. Let me go ahead and introduce himself to you right now. Go ahead, Sweet.
I appreciate that, man. Man, how did I meet you, Wolverine?
Actually, we met each other. I popped into your stream, and you were looking for people that wanted to run, and I was looking for. It was just another night where I didn't have anybody to run with, and I jumped into LFG, and I had no luck. So I said, you know what? Let's pop into the directory, see who's out there, who might need some help, or even might just have steady hands, or be better at PvP than most what you find out there. So I'd like to say that I impressed you and your brother. Big shout out to Papa Punny. Hopefully he's watching from whatever he's doing. I know he's really involved in the medical field, so he's extremely busy, especially during this time. But yeah, that's how I met you, and go ahead and give me a little bit of why you play Destiny still. What is it about PvP in particular that keeps you interested?
So, Trials, I'm a very competitive person. Me and my brother both are, and Trials was my favorite thing out of any game that I played. Going back to D1 when it came out, and man, me and Punny and our other friend, we struggled for 9 weeks together until we got that first flawless, but we finally ended up getting it, and then ended up going 91 times. So when I came back to D2, I was disappointed that Trials wasn't out, and when it came back out, really enjoyed running with my friends and stuff. I actually started streaming because the population got so low that we were having trouble finding teammates, and so I figured, well, might as well run with some of these other guys if they want to play, and try to get some other people in. And it's been a blessing because we've gotten to help people out, and a lot of people have played their first Trials in my channel. And the reason that I have kept on with it is because we had such a good feedback from the atmosphere that I had in my stream, and lots of people felt like it was a way that they could enter in without getting yelled at, because I think a lot of them felt like they were going to get yelled at for messing up. Mm-hmm. And so I love Jesus, and because of that, I love loving on people. And what better to do than to love on people, trying to help them out in trials. We don't always get successful, but we've gotten quite a few people the help that they were looking for.
You know, that kind of generosity really is why I kind of gravitated to you, because you were just looking out there. You weren't really looking for the clicks. You weren't looking for the likes. You weren't looking for the subs. You were appreciative, of course, but you were just looking to see if anybody needed help. And you're still doing it on a daily basis, you know, and you can look him up on the other platform at Freaking Sweet and jump in his stream. And he's always happy enough to just be there to just run with you if you're just trying to look for someone. You know, there's a lot of people in his stream so far, and they, you know, they find him very helpful and extremely faithful. And I actually appreciate that, because I'm a positive minded thinking person as well, and it's nice to take that energy into something as tumultuous as Trials, because if you can kind of stay on top of the negativity, you won't crumble from within. You know, you won't have that snowball effect. So real quickly before we move on to the other guests I got you guys here tonight for, I wanted to ask you, Sweet, how much of the game do you incorporate PvE wise into your playstyle? For instance, I do a decent amount of PvE and or grinding throughout the week prior to reaching the highest cap. Do you make that a priority? Is cap level a priority for you? If a really good gun is out there, is PvE have to take some sort of path where you got to make that some sort of priority?
Definitely, and we do quite a bit of the PvE scene. Of course, like Lament comes out, you got to go do the exotic quest. I've never had anybody say they regretted doing the exotic quest that they did. I've had lots of people say they regretted not doing it. So we always go do the exotics whenever they come out. And then, man, it's been a long time since we had a new raid. I started last October. Like not this October, but 2019 October. And that was the first time I played D2. And it was nice to have the new raid. And we did quite a bit of help and still try to do in the raid. And the weapons now from the raid are very useful in trials.
Yes.
Especially like the trustee, the Posterity's pretty good. Succession, that's actually the sniper I've been using.
Yes.
Current lighted, those are rare.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that is current.
It's nice. It's nice to see some sort of application in both spectrums when you're looting something in the PvE realm. So, for instance, getting that raid chest and you're trying to get a posterity and you got something that's relatively good looking in the PvP aspect, it's actually nice. It's serving your time in two aspects, because if you're not only having to fight RNG for getting a good roll, at least you're being benefited. Hey, maybe I didn't get a good PvP roll, but I got a killer PvE roll. So that sort of diversity has always helped me. It's glad to hear that something like that has helped you. But go on. Sorry.
I think they took the way they did the final boss chest, where you can actually pick something that you've gotten to drop before to get another roll. I think D2 did well in going that direction for it, where people can actually get some of those extra guns, even though they get messed over multiple times.
Of course,
just a set number of chances.
It's nice that, again, we can farm something and be, rewarded for our time in that activity, whether it's PvP or PvE, and get something of value to utilize in pretty much in any aspect of this game. So I want to move on to the next fire team member I got on our LFG type thing that we have going on here, because that's really what I wanted to utilize with the show. I wanted to bring on different people every week to almost emulate an LFG style, so you got to see, meaning the viewers, a different perspective going into the Crucible. They're not always going to be people I have on the die-hard PvPs like myself and the two other individuals that make it the priority. I want to get the PvE guys that go into PvP seldomly as well, because of course I want them to do a week of at least a day of trials, at least a card or two, but I want their perspective. So if you are in the SNTR presents tier list, tier 1 or VIP or higher, and you're interested in something like that, let me know and we'll think about getting you on. We'll work out something to get you on the show as well. But real quick, freaking sweet at Twitch TV, go over there, check him out, give him some love, and maybe if you need a nice twofer to go with your solo that day to maybe even get a flawless run. Hey, it's more than possible. I jumped in with him and his brother, and it was like a match made in heaven. We clicked like nothing. So again, check out Sweet after we're done here today, and we got plenty more for you. So again, we got another one for you. Me and this guy have been going back and forth for a while now. And we've been very successful. We've been very successful since we've met each other through another friend of ours. Through Xbox's LFG. But real quick, Total Alpha. I will reference him as Jay. He had another gamer tag just prior to this. It's funny how that, but it's a story for a different day. But Jay, I'll let you take it away. Give me a little insight. Tell everybody who you are, what you're about. Let them know about your Destiny history. Take the floor, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, Wolf. And thanks for having me on and kind of represent the Trials halftime show with you. I had the background of a large Call of Duty Halo kind of mixture, and then Destiny just kind of really sums that all into one game, and that's where I really fell in love with D1. I would say I really started out as a PVE dominant player. VOG being or Vault of Glass being as iconic as it is, I just seen myself, just kept repeating and repeating. And, I would have, 7-8 clears a week just because how iconic the raid was and how great the loot was. Mm-hmm. And then going into D2, the raids, kind of. They were okay, I would say, but there wasn't as nostalgic as the D1 raids, which kind of shifted me over to more of the PvP side of things, just because the PvE kind of was lacking a little bit. So I started playing Trials back in D1, and believe it or not, I was pretty close to not like world's first Trials flawless run, but I would say within the first hour and a half, I was flawless on D1 on Burnout, and what a great map. I think a lot of us are really looking forward to playing that map again.
Absolutely.
And then we linked up on Destiny 2. I think we weren't really the most dominant guys in the queue, but our play style really complemented each other. Chemistry. Yes, and that's how really how big your fire team is. You don't have to be have the highest KD in the room, but as long as you're surrounding yourself with a team that you can kind of really balance off of, I think flawless is a easy guarantee. So, but yeah, man. How we met all through through a mutual friend just off a Xbox LFG. Mm-hmm. It's crazy the people that you meet and becomes friends with, and you just see yourself in Trials every week with one another. Exactly. It's awesome, man. Yeah, and that's how we it's great that you're saying these points, because this is a big reason why I wanted to have this show, because some people kind of have this stigma against LFG, and personally I don't think it's that bad, because I don't know if you remember, my KD wasn't that great when you met me. It was actually pretty poor, but fortunately I had a decent amount of flawlesses because I grinded with some decent players on the PC. Big shout out to them. I'd love to have them on. Yakoro Nova over there on Steam. I'd love to have you guys on sometimes. They're a big part of how I learned to take what I knew playing PC all throughout Season of Worthy
and take it and almost, I don't want to say the word exploit, but it's when you have knowledge of movement and being prepared with muscle memory because of frame rate. And now that you have the Series X, it's a whole nother animal dealing with 120 frames. And another big shout out to all Wheezy for helping me get this nice Series X. Big shout out to you, big dog. But yeah, it's amazing how we're able to fight the LFG stigma, because we're examples of people succeeding through LFG. But it's true out there. You got people that set the high standards, 1.5, 1.6. Yeah, they're out there, but they're just in such a small minority. And this where it goes into the question we'll talk a little bit later in terms of how we feel about matchmaking within Trials. I know that's a pretty hot topic. So let's talk about what we got going on this week. Jay, why don't you do me a favor? First, we got Radiant Cliffs, different map. Mm-hmm. We haven't really had this before. If I'm mistaken, since Worthy, I don't think this has been one. Sweet, it's total. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Is that something that we've had before? I don't know. I could be mistaken. I don't think we've had Radiant Cliffs
this season and last season. Radiant Cliffs has been absent from the rotation, and I think it's I think it's great, to kind of have a sense of refresh in Crucible, and especially in Trials. Not playing a map that we're so accustomed to, like Jav 4 or Altar of Flame, where so many people are really good at that map, just because of how repetitive it is in the rotation. I think this map is playing really, really well. With all classes, Titan, Behemoth, and Hunter, Squall, and Top Tree, Dawnblade. You really can't go wrong with this map.
100%. Well, Sweet. How do you feel about this map? I know, like I said, I'm almost positive this is the first time we've had this in the Trials rotation since it came back in March. How do you feel? What's your feeling compared to either this week or even any other week in comparison?
I have to say that's the only thing that I like about this map is that it has not been in the rotation at all yet since I've been playing when the Trials got refurbished and brought back out. And in D1, I think they should bring this back if any Bungie people are listening. Weekends where they rotated the maps in D1, those were my favorite. And that's actually the ones we did the best on, because you can focus on your teamwork. And if your teamwork's good and you play with the same team, then you already have what you're doing on each map. And when those rotating things come out, we ended up beating lots of big name people back in D1 when they did it. And oh man, we got a win against Talon running stacked earlier today. That was nice on this map, and I like that the newness of it opens the door for that to be a possibility.
Absolutely. And I really love that you said teamwork, because again, a big portion of why I wanted to do this show is to emulate teamwork as success. Call outs, not pushing yourself into a situation when you know that you can have an opportunity to get two'd, but you can trade one. It's just sometimes just waiting is really the best option in some situations. But we'll break that down when we get into gameplay of the map. We're not going to actually play. Both of these individuals, along with myself, are both on Xbox. I don't have a capture card, unfortunately, or I would just be doing this strictly on Xbox, and we would all be in there together, because that's something else I wanted to do, to load into the map, give you guys an idea, what we're referencing when we're talking about certain things, because there are. Sweet's going to help me with it, and me and Jay saw one when we were playing another top tier player. A spot utilized on this map that I wish they would just address. It would be a simple invisible wall, or making the height of the wall a little bit. But again, we'll break that down a little bit. Jay, go ahead.
Barrier.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, with with this map being so new, I think that's one of kind of its downfalls. Is it hasn't worked out its kinks yet. there's the spot in K that we're going to mention, and there's so many type of areas that you wouldn't really expect someone to be there just from exploit or jumping up on a a crag or something like that.
Yeah.
So with this map being a good thing that's being fresh in the trials queue, but also has a downfall is not a lot of people know about these spots.
No, and that's really why we're here. We're in there enough where we can help people that are tuning in that maybe don't feel as confident, and they just want to say, hey, maybe those guys can tell me a spot, or maybe they went in a different way that I went in. And a big part of a reason I wanted to start this, because we get so many videos out there of people telling you how to use specific guns, reviews of guns, and I think those are awesome, because without those, we're not going to know certain, breakdowns unless you're a mathematician. You're going to know things about like TTK and stuff like that. But positioning, I feel map positioning, and really just going through Friday and then really this morning, we are at the halfway point of the weekend, the whole idea of being at the halftime. We want to talk about exactly where we're at gun-wise, flawless-wise, and what the overall numbers look like. Jay, if you could do me a favor, I know you got Trials Report pulled up right now. Why don't you give us the top 10 of weapons so far across all platforms?
Yeah, and it's our usual suspects, that we see, week in, week out. Fellwinter being number one as always. I think that's been the top gun of the past 3 weeks so far, which doesn't really surprise me. I think Fellwinter is, the gun that you probably would want to run, especially with 120s being as strong as they are now. But also, the Adept coming at second. That long range play, getting that first pick. I'll tell you what, on a big map like this, first pick is extremely important. Mm-hmm. So you're probably going to see a lot of teams either running, Arbalest, Adored, for that long range first pick play. And that's going to be hard to recover from, especially on a big map. Let's
talk about that real quick. We got some time. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that one specific weapon, Arbalest. And even in the chat, let us know how you feel about the Arbalest. What do you think that gun is doing right now in the Crucible? Do you think it's in a good spot? Do you think it needs a little bit of fine tuning in terms of the nerf side? Do you think it's just fine where it is? Let me know in the chat. But Sweet, tell me, what do you think? Do you think the Arbalest is kind of in a close to overpowered spot, or you think it's fine? My perception's a little off, but what do you think?
There's a couple people that I've played that were unplayable because they were so good with it, but those players are very rare that you come across, and that's not going to be a weekend breaking type thing. I think right now, no weapon should be criticized as unusable because of the way that the stasis abilities have been. The stasis now, you've got to use something in order to be able to compete in the game. And that's the whole point is, if you're actually going to war, and we've got lots of vets that frequent my stream, you're going to use what you can use to get the kill and then keep on rolling. And I think that the Arbalest, that's my main few weapons there. Arbalest, Jotun, Bastion, and Devil's Ruin. I like all four of those quite a bit. And they've all four been situationally very well played on this map, and I see a lot of other teams running those as well on this one.
I this is where I feel like I give a little pushback. Maybe it's just a little bit of bias. Maybe it's just because I've been chewed up by it a few times, but the magnetism for that weapon, it just feels really sticky, and I don't know if it has to do it probably does have to do with the type of scope it is and how that emulates into long distance travel within Destiny physics. Jay, I want to know, how do you feel about the Arbalest? Do you think it's in a good spot? Do you think it needs to be tweaked a little bit? What's your stance on it?
Quick comment.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sweet.
That you go with the RB, the worse that it gets with its magnetism.
Gotcha.
So if you're, say, further than, we'll say about like 55, 60 meters, like a sniper's probably going to beat you almost every time unless you're just a crack shot.
And that's something that I didn't even realize. Thank you, because I mean, I take a pretty bullhead approach when it comes to snipers, and in this case an arbalist, because you almost have to treat it as one, and I'll utilize Bacchus to kind of close the gap on that. But man, sometimes I feel like these arbalists are popping me in the middle of that shift, and I'm damn near invisible. Jay, quickly, what do you think? How do you feel about the arbalist?
Yeah, maybe slight tweaks, and the only reason why I say is because it's in the kinetic spot, and when you put a powerful gun like the arbalist in a kinetic spot, it really kind of limits you within your secondary. There isn't a 120 hand cannon you can put in that energy spot. I think I see a lot of people either running like sidearms, which if you're closing that gap, your fell winner or your 7 Seraph shotgun is going to beat that player out. Mm-hmm. But it's that closing that gap is going to be really important against the RB player. Like Sweet said, if you're within that 55 meter, which is that 120 kind of damage fall off range, mm-hmm. For these hand cannons, you're probably going to lose that gunfight to an RB. I've seen some crazy stuff where an arbalist, you're aiming at the head, or aiming at the chest, and it pops up as a crit shot, which can be a little bit aggravating, because even though that you may have deserved that body shot, mm-hmm. To maybe last in that fight a little bit longer, but it gave it to the crit spot with that bullet magnetism, like you mentioned. So I'm thinking like maybe either the hitbox on that gun needs to be tweaked a little bit, mm-hmm. or to either up the charge rate would be my.
I think you're right up a really good alley, and actually probably an effective alley that wouldn't make that gun as negatable, but I think the charge time on it, we were making noises yesterday of that one individual because he was just charging it up over and over again. It's just and it always sounds like he's just literally seconds away from it popping, and I don't know how much ammo that guy had.
And the thing is, like, when we usually go up against an arbalist player, there's no in between. If they're using the arbalist, they're 9 times out of 10 pretty good with it. Like, they either got a high 86% headshot rating on it. There's no in between. They're either really skilled with it or they're not using it at all.
Yeah, you got to give.
That's just been my perspective.
Definitely got to give credit where credit is due. Real quickly, Jay, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's 6 hand cannons in the top 10 still, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You got it. Even a 7th one, I think Ace of Spades.
There's a 7th in there? Yeah, Dire.
Slotting in there.
Dire made its way. Sweet. Tell me real quick, how do you feel about that meta? Do you think that's a cause of concern for Bungie, or do you think they're just like, part of the plan? They know. I want to think the smart minds that make this game know what they're buffing and what they're changing is going to turn into a meta. But do you think this was part of their plan to have 6 to 7 hand cannons within the top 10 of weapons used within this tournament?
I don't like where hand cannons were. Where I had some really nice hand cannons that were just completely unusable. Like I couldn't even try to play with them before, and now you can put a hand cannon on and actually do well with it.
Yeah.
I think that the upper echelon of players in this current meta, where hand cannons can be supreme, that they've just got that distance. And like one of my friends, he knows where the 36 to 40 meter range is on a hand cannon. And if somebody's using like an auto or anything else, like, he knows he's going to win that fight and be able to contest in that area. And if hand cannon users don't miss shots like a lot of the big name streamers do, they're very, very difficult to play against. I'm not the best player, so I can't effectively use hand cannons all the time because they're very unforgiving on your shots. But I overall, I think that the current meta that it is right now is the most balanced meta that we've ever had, in the sense of you can use any type of weapon that you want to use or that you're good with, and still compete with it in Trials. I've seen several people use off the wall type stuff that you don't normally see, and I like that that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, off the wall. It literally, the first thing that popped in my mind was Sturm. Like, do you think, or it's almost, I'm almost asking a rhetorical question, because do you think anybody out in Bungie that's probably still there in the beginning inauguration of Destiny 2 are saying, man, I knew Sturm was coming back. It was in the cards the whole time. It's amazing how that gun has taken its spot. I understand how it's taken it, but it's amazing just one little shift that they do on the back end can make something almost irrelevant. A powerhouse, close to a powerhouse. Jay, real quick, how do you feel about the hand cannons? I know you're definitely a lot better and more keen to them than I am. More of a Rat King sidearm person, as many people know. But do you think this was, Heath Ledger Joker? It's all part of the plan, or do you think, hey, this is what happens when we tweak this? It's just this. They're literally just feeding in something into a machine, and then they're getting out the results. Be like, yeah, I kind of figured that would happen. How do you feel?
Well, I think with any meta change, there's going to be some shifts and balances. Was it planned out? I mean, I don't think so, because I think ARs still have a place. Even though you don't see a whole lot of them within Trials, and you don't see them as the top weapons anymore, like Suros and Summoner, but they still definitely have a play at that medium range over hand cannons. But the thing is, like with the maps that we played, we played Bannerfall, and we played Javelin, and now another long range map with Radiant Cliffs. But I did see some Suroses in Javelin, but obviously with how powerful team shotting is, when it comes back to teamwork, you really can't beat the team shots with 120s when it's a 2-head 1-body kill.
Yes.
But the thing is, like, it's not only 120s that are getting love. You're starting to see Crimson. Crimson was the number 2 weapon in Javelin. Ace of Spades. I think once Hawkmoon gets its random rolls, I think that could be a really dominant
I'm really
gun.
happy you said that. Like, do you think that will change the landscape, the atmosphere, when people get some wicked Hawkmoon that's their range is almost ridiculous, where it's got little to no drop off?
Right, and with the Hawkmoon perks, you can get opening shot, you can get rangefinder, you can adjust has variable grips and barrels you can attach to this Hawkmoon. So this Hawkmoon build, once we get these random rolls, I think you're going to see a whole lot more Hawkmoons being used in Trials. I think you're going to see it in the top 10.
Agreed. Real quick, Sweet, what do you think of the Hawkmoon? Do you think it'll change the landscape if they get some wicked random roll with it?
Absolutely. I actually think that would make me more prone to use it. I'm a huge proponent of moving target on just about any weapon that can get it.
You're a Warlock, if I'm not mistaken, main, correct?
I have been, but due to stasis, I'm kind of toying with being a Titan main now. I've really been enjoying that, and I can actually combat it a little bit better with that. But yeah, I think the way that they're gonna bring out those random rolls for the Hawkmoon, I think they're kind of testing the waters with that being the norm for other exotics or potential other exotics that they'll be releasing. And I don't know if that's going to be game breaking or not. I'm kind of waiting to see.
Before we move on, do you guys think we'll get Hawkmoon anytime soon? A lot of people were speculating the Hawkmoon was the random roll was gonna be in this chest that we got from Ava. Obviously, that was a big laugh. But when do you guys think we'll get a Hawkmoon?
I think that will probably be more towards the end of the season, more like an end of the season event, kind of in the year, or not year, but in the season off with with a bang, I guess you could say, with maybe Crow in the mix, since Crow and Hawkmoon are kind of hand in hand with each other. So I think we'll see a closure out to the Crow storyline, or building more on top of it. but also giving us some perks with the Hawk Moon. So I think that'll probably be like an end of a season event, kind of like what they do every year. But I think it's going to be unlocking that random roll aspect to the Hawk Moon.
Agreed. I was just reading chat. Jaja Church, he said, Felwinter is the only gun that needs to be nerfed, in my opinion. I kind of almost agree with you, Jaja. I say that when I get mapped by that thing, but I understand the pinnacle nature of the gun, so I kind of bring it back to reality a little bit. But I guess the gamer, the competitiveness in me wants to just be mad because I was literally just scoped with like an auto rifle or a DMR with a shotgun. Guys, how do you feel about the Felwinter? It's always at the top. It has been at the top. No, there's no way to get it currently, minus the ability to soon within the help me guys. It's the kiosk. Excuse me, the kiosk. I was looking for kiosk.
Vendor,
pardon me. The kiosk vendor, the exotic kiosk vendor. I know that is eventually going to be in there. Do you think they need to tweak Felwinters at all, or do you think just them pushing it out is a way to be like even the playing field?
Well, I would say like all the players that didn't get it, or they'll soon get it within a month and a half. But I also think another downfall is not having enough shotguns in the secondary spot. I think the only other competitors is Seven Seraph, and that's a gun that you may have gotten a whole lot more rolls on last year with the Umbral engrams, since that was available at the recaster. But now that you have to depend on either weapon parts at Banshee or world drops, which ain't as common to get that gun in the world loot pool anymore. So I think just the lack of not having enough shotguns in that secondary spot. I mean, yeah, you got the Astral Horizon, but then you have to step into Trials and either complete that that game 3 bounty, or if it's in the flawless chest like how it was last week, you had to keep going flawless, which can be really difficult for players to farm that adept role that they want.
That was something I wanted to talk about, is that we're still waiting on the fix for that bug, because every time you get that chest during that given week, you're supposed to be getting that gun. And I feel kind of misplaced because I had about three flawless runs during the summoner week that weren't summoners. Last week with Astral, I had 3 that weren't Astral, and then going on right now, I've had 3 that weren't the Scout. I know the Scout's not that great, but hey, if I got like a full auto snapshot roll, who knows? An adept.
What I've been using.
Real quick, Sweet. How do you feel about the Felwinter? Do you think the Felwinter needs to be adjusted? Do you think their ability to just bring it in to the kiosk is just an easy way to just quell people that don't have it or have access to it?
I think it will quiet people down that don't have access to it. However, I think there are going to be a lot more people that are more butthurt that they're getting killed with it more often. I don't like shotgunning. If you don't play intelligently, as well as hit your shot and outthink the other person, kind of like a chess game. You're thinking moves ahead. You have to know how you're going to move and when you're going to pull that trigger with the shotty. I don't do it well, so I hate getting killed by it. But I know people feel the same way when they face me and I'm using a fusion rifle up against it. And I think it goes back to the comment I made earlier. I think you can pretty much use any type of special right now that you want to use, and it's fairly balanced. Mm-hmm. That one gun in particular, I think, is borderline in the same category as like Revoker and the other pinnacle weapons that they had that were legendaries. I think it's way too consistent to be a legendary in that slot. I wouldn't mind it staying exactly the same as it is if it was an exotic, but you don't have to use an exotic slot up, and it opens it up so you can use something like an exotic hand cannon, and then boom, all of a sudden you've got an incredibly consistent secondary if you take the time to learn how to use it and play against other people with it. and you get like the exotic primary that you're able to use, which is huge, because I mainly use exotic secondaries because there's not a lot of consistency that I've seen with most of the legendaries comparatively.
Okay. Do you now? Remind me. Do you like to snipe at all? Is it more close quarter for you?
I love sniping, but I'm a fusion main.
Okay. So do you not like what they did with the beloved Nunu Adored? Do you think that is a send off to what it used to be, or do you think it's actually not that decent? Personally, I feel it's not that bad as long as it's got snapshot. I'm pretty content.
I like how usable my actually lower impact energy snipers have been when I have sniped. They feel all right, and they did change sniping at the beginning of the season. They nerfed the heck out of the aim assist on it, and so it's not as much of a plague. It takes actually a lot more skill than it used to, because people were just hitting dumb shots and then getting their ammo back with Revoker. When they brought that back in place of the Beloved, I'm okay with that. I'm not a big fan of that gun, though, personally, and never was with the Beloved. I always liked my kinetics, whether that's Bite of the Fox. I love that sniper, and I've been really enjoying the Succession. I really want to see another high, aggressive frame sniper in that energy slot. Kind of the same problem that he mentioned with the shotguns. That there's not a whole lot of like aggressive frame, longer, harder hitting shotguns in that energy slot that you're able to use. And I think snipers are in the same boat as that right now.
It's really funny that we say about a kinetic shotgun doing a lot of damage. Jade, what are the rewards this week?
Yeah, so we got game 3 is the Eye of Soul, correct?
You got to pull that.
Yep. Yeah. So we got boots at game 5, and then let me see here. That's weird. On Trials Report, it doesn't show the rewards this week, but nonetheless, the Adept weapon is the Scholar. But the main reason why you want to go flawless this week is going to be that Adept mod for range.
Exactly. And go ahead. Tell everybody what we kind of felt and going into Sweet's point about, the consistency and power of the kinetic and what this Adept mod kind of gives Astral.
Yeah, so I mean, with this Adept mod, this gives Astral, if you got the right rolls, competing with Fellwinter. I got a Astral with full choke, which tightens that bullet pattern up a little bit. Accarage rounds with a ranged masterwork, and then throwing that extra 10 with the Adept mod. I tested this out in a private match last night, and it kills at 8 meters, which is roughly about the same with Fellwinter's, but the only downfall is mine doesn't have opening shot, which gives it that boost of a little bit of range there on the beginning opening shot. But it does kill at 8 meters with the Adept mod. I'm really excited for the ranged mod to maybe be like on a Adept Palindrome when we get that in the Grandmaster Nightfalls next season. So I might be able to compete with some of the 120s here in the meta.
Yeah, and that's something that I've actually kind of envied, that you have the Conqueror title, so you put the time in that was necessary to complete those bombastic things that we call Grandmasters and the 12 negative modifiers we utilize to fight behind a rock. Sorry, I'm being really condescending right now. I'm just not a real big fan of the way that they are. I'm definitely not a big fan of the loot distribution. I know I'm running on a tangent and I'm digressing. I don't like the fact that you can't re-earn the new exotics once they're in their pool in them. But yeah, you are definitely have been able to utilize the Grandmaster and the higher echelon of the PVE portion. And that's one thing I wanted to say, is that I feel that a lot of people can be somewhat sleeping on these Adepts because they're being paired with guns that we've had for 2 seasons now, and really you could make an argument that 3 are good. the Eye of Soul, the Summoner, and then Astral. Pretty much it. No one's going to be excited for Exile's Curse, but people might be excited when they see the mod is something. Yeah. Well, as a fusion rifle, I stand corrected. There are people out there that might be interested in an Adept version of Exile's Curse. Real quick, Sweet, how do you feel about the mods, the way they're giving them, and do you feel that there's going to be further application of these mods later down the road when we have a more broader list of Adept guns throughout all spectrums of the game?
Absolutely. I am borderline worried that the Adept targeting mod is going to absolutely decimate once we get that Adept Eye of Saul. Having Adept targeting on a sniper like that, I actually looked around on the range mod. It says it gives plus 10 range, but on the shotgun, it doesn't give all the way at 10. It caps out, I think, at a 9-meter kill range, even if you have the opening shot. And then I think toning that down for that particular mod, I don't know if they're going to balance that the same way with the sniper, and that there's going to be some really nice PVE things that you can do with like that magazine mod that they had, depending on what you're running. And then when we get access to more weapons that we can put those mods on instead of the just few that we've got right now, I don't know how that's going to translate into PvP gameplay later on down the road.
Yeah,
because I guarantee you, for those PvE Adept weapons are going to be good in Trials with those mods.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about their application in a PvP standpoint. That's actually a really great point. Something I don't know. I didn't play Destiny 1 to the consistency where I took a big hiatus between the first expansion and the very last expansion, and I came back 3 weeks before D2 came out, so I didn't get to experience a lot of things like the palindrome. So I don't know in terms of how it's going to be emulated to Destiny, in terms of are they going to make it something that's going to be viable as well within the PvP spectrum. I think maybe a lot of these mods can be something helpful, but it's just something that we're gonna have to wait and see. Real quick, the next thing I wanted to get into before we moved on to a little bit of more hands-on, because like I said, ideally I would like all three of us to be in the map together. I'm working on getting a capture card to line up my Series X, excuse me, so I can have my Xbox guests, and later down the road, if I can get a PlayStation, I'd also have my PlayStation, guests as well, possibly be on the show. But I'd like to have everybody in the map to talk of certain things. But before we move on, I want to know, starting with you, Sweet, what are you taking into this map, Radiant Cliffs? And after playing it pretty much a majority of the day yesterday and probably a little bit today, are you changing anything because of from when you started? Is the map almost changing as you play it as much because you're taking different routes, or you're learning from previous mistakes, or you saw the success of one particular route? Go ahead.
So unfortunately, the first day, not that big of an issue, but today I think some big name streamers put on display those spots, and people were watching their stream, and I've had a lot more people utilizing those spots.
Yeah,
there are a few spots on this map now that you can go up and you're plumb like able to run across the top of the map, and like without a kill barrier up there. That's a huge problem, huge red flag, and that completely ruins, I think, how the map is supposed to play.
Agreed.
Sometimes if you do it on the right game, that could ruin somebody's flawless that deserves to have it when you don't, I believe, because some of these shots, like when I'm looking up and I know somebody's up in the area, then a guy comes, pokes underneath, and I can't look at both spots at the same time. And if they're on my angle and not on my teammate's angle, then they get a free pick because I have to look all the way up at the top of the map, and I'm nowhere close to where my reticle needs to be to deal with the guy poking out from underneath, or vice versa.
100%, and that's something I wanted to also utilize your knowledge, because you've seen it a little bit more today. One example that I will be able to show when we change the scene here of in-game on the map, one particular spot that me and Total Alpha were playing pretty high-end people, and one of our teammates activated Behemoth, and that person's first instinct that was pretty high in KD was go to that spot. I'm not a programmer. I have done some quality assurance with a very big AAA video game industry, but man, I can't figure it being that hard to doing some hot fix to fix this, because like you said, if it's being exposed and if it's being duplicated as much, unfortunately, as you're trying kind of making it seem, maybe something needs to be done. But I don't know. The worst thing they could do right now is cancel weekends, because they've made so many mistakes in the past, and even just the last month since Stasis's inauguration, that Trials has been broken, or some gun is just breaking. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. I think it's only been about one out of maybe every 15 games, maybe 20, that I see somebody using the absolutely broken spots. There's one up on the corner in between the little C stair area going to the A area that they can get up overlooking heavy, and you can see into the other area spawn. That one and the cubby hole, those I feel like they can be dealt with. Even if you've got somebody up there, you're still going to catch some people off guard, but I think that can be dealt with. But the other ones that I saw these guys doing, that there was one team, like, we couldn't even play them, and they weren't like amazing KD. So if you put somebody with a great KD that has a great aim up in those areas, then it just completely shuts it down for what your options are playing against them. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you definitely did, and that's my fault. I was I'm still, like I said, I'm sorry, folks. I'm still learning this OBS thing. It's still kind of brand new to me. But you did answer the question, and I don't know, Jay, how you feel. And it's been a big problem. Actually, I kind of do know how you feel, but do you think?
Yeah.
I know you already know what I'm about to say. Stasis, yeah. Like, and it's. I kind of waited to talk about this because it's probably the most divisive topic within Destiny right now. Stasis, and where does it fit in? A lot of people want it out. I don't think that's feasible. I have been saying this one thing that I'm gonna say it again, that I've kind of been repeating: embrace the darkness. This is something that they wanted, and this is something that I don't really think they have intention to nerfing to a degree to just make the current light be on par. How do you feel?
Right. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be running into a team that's using nothing but stasis. I think the only exception is Top Tree Dawnblade. And I was kind of thinking about this. A lot of people run Top Tree Dawnblade because the counter to stasis is being airborne. You're not going to get, glacial slam, while, your Dawnblade is, 30, 40 meters in the air. I think Dawnblade is, probably the best counter to stasis when it comes to all the other light subclasses. But with stasis on this map, we talked about the glitch spots that you can go to, and But this is a really great map to where you can really outrun those supers, especially with the behemoth, because the behemoth is really fast, but only in a lateral sense. But there's a lot of twists and turns. As we take a look at the map, there's a lot of twists and turns that you can really avoid. Supers like the Warlock and like the the Behemoth Titan. So, these choke points on the where B flag is, that's I would like to call it the washing machine going into B. That's going to be a really big, strong choke point, which I think you've utilized a lot, Wolverine. You'll get the call out, be like, all right, I'm going in. Next thing you know, 2-3 piece off the rip.
Yeah.
Teams just like to hold that spot there because they can see either heavy or you can want to get to that midpoint as quick as possible, and you kind of have that little standoff there for a little bit, and then I think stasis is that that push. You get teams out of that washing machine.
Agreed. I have a tendency now is I'm able to be a little bit more assertive with my abilities when I do have my nade up. For the people watching, I am a hunter main. I actually am a hunter soul. I only have a hunter, and that ice wall grenade, it's pretty big. We discussed on SNTR presents throughout the week on Wednesday, actually, stasis within the Crucible with Lono. We discussed about maybe giving the Warlock some sort of ability to break walls would maybe quell a lot of the anger. I don't know. Real quick, Sweet, how do you feel if maybe the Warlocks were given some ability to? I suggested if they had a long press on whatever button you have it mapped out on your mouse and keyboard or controller, that you'd have to jump in the air and they would act as if they would put the scepter and break the nearest ice. It wouldn't have the biggest radius as the super, but decent enough, kind of like the slam or the slide.
And I was thinking about that this past week. Because being a Warlock main, I would almost rather run Top Tree Dawn instead of running Stasis, because you can't bust crystals, and now crystals over the past 2 weekends have completely taken over PvE. PvP. You didn't see that many people doing it before, I think, like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. But then, it's just been progressively snowballing, I feel like, in the Crucible with the shatters, whether that's the Titan Slide or the Hunter Slam. But Warlocks have something completely busted that, because of the way that the shatters have been, I think people forget about. On the Warlock, they get 4 fragments that they can run with their stasis. When you complete it all the way, and they have the best freezes. You should probably be running an ice snap or cold snap grenade.
Real quick, do you think even after what they did to the cold snap, it's still something that you could utilize in a viable fight? I personally, I think getting out of that is a little bit quick, but correct me if I'm wrong. If you mix a few fragments, you can kind of make that freeze last a little bit longer. No,
slows. You can make slows last.
Gotcha.
But the thing about the Warlock's freeze is it chains to teammates, and so where you're seeing people get double, triple kills with the shatters from the glacial grenades, if you play the Warlock stasis correctly, you get an instant melee freeze. It's almost like a celestial fire, and then you have that cold snap grenade, and then the chain 2 other people, and if they're grouped up, it's going to be the same effect if you shoot your gun. But you have to shoot your gun. You can't just slam an ability and get the kills. And I think people have forgotten about that because of how cheesy the shatter is from those other grenades. But I think it's still just as broken. I think they may have nerfed it a little too hard, but not much at all. It does not need to be rebuffed for it. I think they just need to nerf the shatter a little bit, and then if they did, I think you'll see just as many Warlock stasis players again.
Do you think it kind of like balance out those metrics a little bit?
Right.
Gotcha. Jay, how do you feel? What do you think about Sweet? Just said, I don't think I've seen you on your Warlock since, not in Trials, but what do you think? Do you think that maybe giving it weaning the Warlock an ability to break walls, or maybe just straight up nerfing Whisper of Shards or Whisper of Fissures is, most likely probably the route they might go?
Well, I think it's a movement system. The Titan has two slides that significantly closes the gap, and then we have the back wrist with stasis, and then we also have the shatter dive slam. It's all a movement, and that's why you see so many people run transversus steps and stompies and these exotics that make you close the gap, especially with how Fellwinter is being used. That's the number one thing if you're a shotgun player. You want to be able to close that gap and get to your opponents as quick as possible. So 100%. I think, and that's why you see a lot of Icarus dashes and top tree Dawn Blades, running. It's because of that movement. Mm-hmm. Movement and quickness is that survivability in Trials. Having those transversal steps can easily get you out of that gunfight quicker than if you didn't. I think it needs to be a movement system that either breaks the crystals with Warlock, either being that maybe like a staff, like a staff bash or something like that, almost kind of like the super, but like a mini one, or I wouldn't say doing another Icarus because we've already got that, but it needs to be some type of movement system that breaks these crystals, but also be able to close gaps and makes the movement a little bit faster on Warlocks on that stasis class.
100%. How personally I have felt since stasis has come out, I've been having a lot of fun. It has made me feel a little bit more confident in some engagements, because not having to worry about someone rushing in with their shotgun or them being able to just one-shot melee you with some characters, like the Titan, for instance. Like I said, it makes me definitely feel a little bit more confident with most engagements. I'm just setting up the game because I'm going to take us in for a little bit and just kind of figure out a few little things, and also I'd like to give my perspective. Ultimately what I'd like to have these individuals that I bring on, to give you their take. What do they do? But as best as I'll portray it with you right now, I will give you guys a little bit of idea. So let's go ahead. You guys, as best you can, follow along on the stream, and I will just need to change that. Perfect. All right. So, I asked you guys in the beginning, but I probably flew over it because I was talking too much. What I'm personally taking in, because I want to give a perspective every week of everyone, what they're running. I have had to change my build a few times. I'm pretty steady with what I run. Clearly, I am a Rat King fan. I have utilized it since probably I got back my third week into Trials in Season of the Worthy. I changed from my first comp build, which was a solar bottom tree with Revoker and Not Forgotten. Pretty, OP for the time, a little meta heavy. So I switched. I ran Rat King, and I had Beloved, and I had a sword because 3-peaking was just everywhere. And another thing, I think, I don't know how you guys feel real fast. Do you think Stasis kind of handled 3-peaking a little bit?
Yeah, I would say it does a bit. If you're, you're slowed or you're frozen. I mean, we know you're behind that corner.
Yeah.
Sword peeking, because we can hear it as soon as you pull your sword out. And by that time, a nade's coming at you. And by the time you can, move, dodge out of the way, you already froze or slowed.
Yeah, that dust field grenade. If someone's just 3-peaking right there, they just get sucked out of nowhere, out of the cover, and then they're caught with their pants down because they still got their sword out, and they're just hopping up in place trying to get out of there.
Yeah, and speaking of that nade, the gravitational pull, I guess you can say, of that nade is insane. I think that's one thing that might be nerfed. with the glacial slam is that that Pokeball nade.
Yeah.
Because you can stand 4 meters outside of that nade and still get pulled in. Which is nuts.
Yes. And real quick, I want to.
How many did you just say?
4 meters.
4 meters.
You can be 4 meters outside of that nade and still get tossed in and slowed.
So for the people that don't know, and the people that are tuning in that are just, what's Trials or what's going on with the hunters and everything like that, a big thing of what hunters are utilizing right now are these 2 fragments, Whisper of Fissures, Whisper of Shards. The utilization and combination of these 2 make this grenade with people around pretty lethal. So, real quick, I'm going to just the center of the map. One thing I think I can kind of confidently give to the viewers today about where I think success in this map as a team comes from is the utilization and the utilization and application of center control. In this map in particular, between point, heavy, I know heavy's over here, but that's just because this is a control map, or elimination, excuse me. That the heavy spawns right here in Trials, and the point is basically right here. So control of this area, it's basically anywhere. You could sit around the back, you could sit around in this back end corner. Some people like to do. You could sit in this bottleneck. I call this the bottleneck area because fighting in this area is pretty, it's pretty lethal in there. You got a death wish if you got 3 other guys standing right here and you got 3 other looking this way. Guys, how do you feel this map flows in terms of being successful at it? Do you think this area I'm in the center, do you think that this is a key element to controlling this map and maintaining success throughout 5 rounds?
Well, I think if you spawn A side, getting to the middle is going to be tough because C team's already going to be there covering it. So I think when you're spawning on A side, I would avoid going to B altogether. Just avoiding like that lane you call the bottleneck area. You want to avoid that area as much as possible. So I usually tend to go out tree side, maybe off the radar a little bit, depending on how far you go, and then kind of flank around them and take over that middle heavy area if possible. So, like you said, if you got 3 guys standing in that washing machine bottleneck area, be prepared to get double kill with the glacial slam.
And just to kind of portray what is something that I do, let's just pretend I got 3 reds in the top left corner of my radar. I'm running, I'm sliding, I'm backrersing, and then it's just that easy. I'll have something to show everyone at the end of this of an example, and it also kind of an incentive for our viewers and also the viewers that are at least tier 1 or higher on Lono's other channel, on our mother channel, or the umbrella network of SNTR network. If you are subscribed to that, you'll be able to send in plays of the week. I'll get to that at the very end. But Sweet, how have you taken this map in terms of controlling a certain area? Do you think there's more success derivative of holding down a choke point, for instance, this area, or do you feel that going outside? How do you tackle this map?
So the area that I see you in right now, if people are not utilizing glitch spots and being up above where your line of sight is, you want to control an area around that area for the most part. If you can actually hold that area down, that's good. But if you have a skilled team and they split off in the different angles, if you're right smack dab in the middle right there where I see you, then there's lots of different angles you can get picked from. If you got people using snipers and arbalists, see a lot of people hide back in the B area. That little choke point in between the area you're in and then the B area back in there, that should be avoided almost at all costs because of the stasis, unless you are going in and you are controlling the flow and you're ready to adjust if they come to meet you there with that, because it's just bam, bam, and then you got two people running in to assert themselves. I liked the way that you said that with their abilities on stasis, and who's going to win that? Who did it first?
Yeah,
pretty much. And so you stay out of that area. The teams that I've seen be successful have been on top of the stairs over near the A going to C area, and then over in the C area, you can usually have some pretty good team cover there, and still get some decent angles, and still be able to control the middle where zone spawns, where heavy spawns, and keep people out of that.
Would you guys agree that probably most of the engagements that are going on this weekend are probably going on right where we are, where I am right now, just this center and then this bottleneck area?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I kind of get annoyed when matches are like that, because it's almost can be pre-told, whoever gets that first pick, it's just, bulls in a china shop rush at the two other individuals that are left inside. So, as I'm ending this game, but ultimately, I have thought this map was probably going to run similar to how Bannerfall went, whereas you had a little bit more space to deal with the stasis abilities. A lot of the fights and engagements, we call it the Mohawk area on Bannerfall, when you got the point just at the tip of it and you got that structure just separating the two. This map I feel can kind of go along the same flow, whereas the map that we had last week, Javelin, you had tight corners, tight areas, and you had very small specific areas that were spaced out, where personally I've always felt the stasis grenades, as easy as they are to replicate and to be chaotic with them, they're very predictable to almost foreshadow. In my opinion, this is me using it all the time. This is me going through it every day, and as like I said, as an only hunter, it's pretty much become a part of my arsenal, along with my weapons and utilizing the shurikens and then the super, compared to something I was utilizing with top tree tether, having that one shot get knocked off and then everyone's tethered for 15 seconds and nothing making of it, where you got Squall chasing people regardless of where you get shot out. Lastly, situations. How are you guys feeling, and how are you approaching situational things? Me and Jay have gone through a couple 2-on-3s, and Sweet, what has been your perception throughout the weekend on handling odd numbers and then even being up? I'll tell you, I hate getting a first pick and it's still losing a round. It really it's one of my pet peeves, and it drives me up a wall. Do you think that there's probably a better way to handling a situation when you are up on numbers to secure the win? How do you approach it?
So I think that the smart way to handle it is not the most popular way by any means, but it's patience. Well, if you get the pick, we said it earlier in the podcast, if you have a first pick, this map is so open, it's almost always easy to keep down if your teammates adjust and move around to just watch the orb and wait for them to make the move. And if you're around that middle area, you remove one person and you're only able to get like 2 people, that completely negates that middle control, being able to be flanked around from that, so you can sit in that middle without as much apprehension of things going wrong when you have that first pick down. you just play patient, play your super, and then you've got a lot better chance of winning the round, and then play that way through the whole card, going flawless.
Jay, same question. Do you think there's a better? And I know sometimes that we wish personally that we could have some rounds back. Especially on those Game 6 rounds that we're missing by 4 and 5. The one that you had last night, but we made up to it. We got flawless the very next game. But do you think there's a better way to keep something in the back of your mind, some sort of discipline that you're up a kill, like let's not be over aggressive to the point where we're chickens with our heads cut off?
Right, and when you get that first pick, you also got to think about what the other team is thinking about too, as well. They're expecting a push. That's usually the first reaction. Kind of going back what Sweet said. You got to be patient because with how powerful these stasis abilities are, especially the Shatter Dive and the Shurikens, and how quick a Titan can crash a glacial wall. That's going to be their first reaction. It's like, okay, they're all going to push. I'm gonna throw a wall down and smash it, because that's exactly what I would do. And that's just a double kill waiting to happen when you have your whole team push in on a orb, and then next thing now you're down numbers. Now you got now it's a 2v1, and they're getting the res off. So playing patient is going to be really, really key here. Yeah, you don't want to be too over aggressive on getting an orb, because most likely on a like on a large map like this, that orb's going to stay down. Especially if you have a sniper or arbalist, and especially with 120s, you're going to have something with range that's going to be watching that orb. Yeah, but don't be too over aggressive, because just with how stasis nades are, it's just better be safe than sorry. And also countabilities. If a player on the opposing team has already used their glacial nade for that round, most likely they're going to be on a 40-50 second cooldown. So you also got to keep that in mind. If if they don't have abilities, then that's a perfect time to rush in.
And I think this kind of helps a lot of teams, and probably people just getting into elimination trials full blown, that they need to be more cognizant of their numbers and situations and where they are, who has abilities, who could be susceptible to getting their super next, who's close. So I have taken, especially since this expansion, that, and unfortunately it's a reality within the last 3 weeks, that these light subclasses are falling very subpar to stasis, and I think the only exception is the Warlock's utilization of stasis. But I don't know if that's something they need to nerf full-heartedly, because this is something that we paid for. I think this is a learning curve, growing pains. Unfortunately, we're doing a lot of quality assurance for them, for Destiny, for Bungie, as it always seems like. I want to be able to real quickly close out one more thing before I break down to the last segment. Sweet, you have the most knowledge of this, and I don't want to give this so much exposure, but I want to warn other fire teams and guardians that are going in by themselves or aren't fully aware of these ugly spots. I'm not going to show you how to get to them. I will point out one of them in particular. There's one right up there. You could jump up there very simply, and it's a spot that can be defeated, but it's a spot that you're not always going to be aware of. And I don't know if that little spot up there is strategic enough where it doesn't warrant some sort of blockage. Personally, I think is not something intended to go to. I don't think they said, yeah, this little perch is something we'll leave open for people to find. I think it was probably missed. Real quickly about this one spot in particular, Sweet, do you think that this was something that intended, they don't care, they didn't realize until this map got as much spotlight because of the tournament this weekend?
So I actually, from thinking about it, hindsight, I almost think that they did intend for the cubby up there in that spot to be used. The other spots that you can get up kind of in the middle of the map, I don't think that was intended.
Yeah.
And they do have a kill barrier, but it's like you have to walk into that little kill barrier, and it's just a small little spot right there. It's like, if they had the coding in for that, how in the world did they overlook being able to be on the other little areas?
Mm-hmm.
The counter to that spot is just don't go in that area.
Yes.
You don't need to. Zone, heavy, all of it's outside, away from that, where you can't see if you're up in that spot. So if you're getting killed from that area, just stay away from it, and then you don't have to worry about that one particular one. I think the one up above heavy is a bigger concern, but I believe that the people that are using that spot aren't going to get too much success against a smart team,
mm-hmm.
staying away from the areas that they need to.
Agreed
on that.
And Jay, right before you give your response, I just want to say something. What Sweet says, it's hard to say as such a layman what looks like it's intended. I'm not gonna push back. Maybe that little perch might have been something that they didn't think it was that big of a deal. Personally, I don't. To the naked eye, it doesn't look like something that could be approached or gone in. We know about it now, and that's something I wanted this show to be a part of. Give you the information that you wouldn't have known unless you got killed by someone there. Now, if you haven't gotten killed by someone there, now you know someone might be up there at some point. If you see a red mark on your radar, but they're nowhere in the alleyway. So the other points are the other areas that you're talking about, Sweet, and I saw them. That's pretty bad. And it is card breaking. I think it could be even playlist breaking to a degree, where changing the map or altering the map could have been done sooner, but maybe we're literally at the halfway point of Trials at this point. So I don't know if anything would be rectified as quickly as we would hope.
Yeah, and kind of going back to your question, I don't think any of those spots were intentional by Bungie. Not even the one in the cave, because I don't think Bungie would promote that kind of play style. And I think due to this map not being in rotation at all, mm-hmm. this map hasn't gotten that exposure that is needed to kind of work out those spots. Mm-hmm. There's been some spots that's been barriered on Altar Flame.
Yeah.
Which has happened in the recent weeks, because that map was in rotation, 3 or 4 times in the past couple seasons, and it's gotten that that spotlight, that streamers were exploiting or showing on stream. I think we needed this, because I don't think Bungie would promote that type of gameplay, and especially in a competitive game like Trials of Osiris.
Vendetta,
I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would expect those spots to be barriered in the next rotation if this map shows up.
Vendetta asked a really good question, and I want to have lastly, when we get this channel a little bit figured out, is, like I said, this is the very first stream, and I'm very happy everyone that has come out. I'm very happy for the 2 guests that have joined me for the last hour and a half through all this. It's been a big blessing to have this opportunity. But I will have a question and answer segment, it will be called the Fastest 5. We'll put 5 minutes on the clock, and you will type in a hashtag or an icon in chat to distinguish your question as part of the Fast 5, and then each of us will go through this list and each answer the question within 5 minutes. So that's down in the pipeline, but I think Vendetta right now asks a really good question. Do you guys abandon your loadout if you guys get killed or you push through? Me starting, it's hard for me to drop the Rat King. I feel like that kind of makes me, I don't know, lack of a better word, it's a crutch. I have used hand cannons when needed to. I have liked the steady hand a lot. I feel if I had to switch to a hand cannon, I'd be using the steady hand pretty habitually. But I have learned to adjust my play style to adapt with a shotgun. I have changed my playstyle where I can feel a little bit confident that I can maybe trade or get a kill and be one up with a shotgun. How do you guys feel if you guys are hitting a brick wall against a fire team? Do you think that you need to change, or do you change?
Yeah, I do for sure, and I agree with Puzzled. I switch between a shotgun and a sniper. It just depends on how the other team is playing, because especially in a game like Trials of Osiris, with how competitive teams are, and you don't know where you're going to be facing, you want to be really multiple dimensional with your gameplay. If a team's playing a little bit more back and more passively, that's watching lanes constantly, then definitely for sure throw on a sniper and a hand cannon like Crimson or something that can kill pretty quick close range as well. Or if you're getting aped by 3 shotgunners with stompies and transversal steps and the Titan slot, definitely throw on a 7 Seraph shotgun, or that Fell Winners that you've been using this season. But also changing your guns, but also maybe changing some exotic gear pieces too. Doom Marchers and one-on mass for Titan. That can be a toss-up. Or if you're sniping with Hunter, maybe throw on a Worm Husk instead of a Bacchus, since that Bacchus may or may not get you out of some close situations while sniping, since you're sitting so far back.
Agreed. And the Bacchus, man, I real quickly before
yeah, it's hard to get away from, man.
It really is, and it's such a pivotal exotic, where if you're a hunter and you're running stasis and you're not running Bacchus, you're kind of like being disingenuous to yourself, because the amount of viability that exotic gives that subclass, it's huge. Sweet. If you can answer Vendetta's question, do you feel that if you hit a brick wall against a fire team, do you have to change builds? Do you have to change God forbid subclass, but do you need to change weapons at any point?
Absolutely. There are some teams that you cannot use the Arbalist against. If they're not giving you any shot and you're just dead before you have a chance to shoot, you need to take it off and put something else on that you're not just going to get blanked with. Mm-hmm. And that's completely composition based on your team and their team and your team's loadouts and their team's loadouts on the map. But yeah, if you're getting snubbed and you don't even feel like you stand a chance, you've got to swap up the weapon. And I don't do a shotgun, but I swap between a fusion and the Arbalist or a sniper. And then I'm a big sidearm person as well. If I had the Rat King Catalyst to drop, I would be using the Rat King with you.
Man, I feel like people sleep on it. I've always I was a fan of it because it was the first exotic I got in Destiny 2, and it was such a new thing to complete an exotic quest with a fire team. It was annoying at first, but it was cool. But we saw the longevity of that. It kind of sucked because people LFGing for Rat Kings, even still to this day right now, because they need to get the catalyst done. It just, I didn't think that they probably thought it would turn into something that turned basically something fun into a mediocre or a monotonous task. But yeah, I really feel like a lot of people sleep on the Rat King. There's a lot of potential with that gun, especially with that catalyst involved, getting the vermin, the life, and then the aim assist with the reloading. So I'm going to go into our last segment. It's basically how we're going to close out the show each and every week. I want to give, like I said, people that are subscribed to Lono's other channel within the SNTR network, their tier abilities, tier 1 or higher. I want you to be able to send your best clips that you think you did it from the previous weekend, and I will showcase it right here on Trials Halftime. I want to give back a little bit of people that maybe are subscribing and they're looking for a little bit more to do, and that's understandable, but I want to also give people a chance to be like, yeah, man, that was my clip. So real quick, this is mine, just getting a 3-piece with your friendly neighborhood ice wall grenade. It's pretty lethal. It's pretty lethal, ice wall grenade, and as you can see from the clip, I'm just going in there, I'm bashing it, and that's a 3-piece. It's become a weekly thing where I can at least get 1 or 2 and clip it throughout the weekends. I don't know how how are you guys feeling in terms of big play potential, either with your current builds, new builds? Jay, I've seen you make plays. I don't need to be told. But yeah, like, how you feeling? How you feeling?
Man, I mean, pretty much, what we talked about and summed up the show with, that glacial nade right there in that tunnel there, going to B flag, if we talked about it, don't hang out there, and you're gonna get doubled and triple killed there every time. But yeah, fell winners and glacial snap, and just the thing is, what you do so iconically, with the Rat King, is that invis capability, man. You're a double kill machine with that, just because the opponent doesn't know where you are and you're off the radar for a little bit, man. And I appreciate you having that on my fire team. Yeah, but,
there's those things that you gotta appreciate people for. I was always a real big Bastion hater, but when you got a real good Bastion on your team, you're like, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But what about you, Sweet? What about big play?
That,
go ahead.
I used to be a hardcore Bastion main. Stasis has really negated a lot of the
I think so too. I'm not complaining as much. Yeah, I'm not complaining as much about getting mapped by Bastion because I'm usually initiating with Bacchus and they can't turn fast enough to pop their 3 pellets with Bastion. Real quick, Sweet, how big play potential do you think these new builds are? Do you feel do you have to be a certain class where you can kind of pop off yourself? Do you think you can do it with your lock? Where are you at in terms of your potential to individually make big plays? I want this show to be about teamwork, but at the same time, I want to give people a pat on the back with something like plays on the week, and I also want to know the guests I have on, what big play potential are they bringing into a week, or do they feel confident about something? What's changing for you?
So Warlock, I normally run the top tree Dawnblade. With all of the freezes, I don't feel like if they are good with the freezes that I have a shot to make as many big plays, because you just got shurikens flying at you that are bouncing around corners and on walls and stuff, and then you're frozen and or slowed, and then you can't move to keep making the big play. And that doesn't matter if you're in the air or not, depending on how accurate they are.
Yeah.
On the Titan, though, with the stasis, absolutely huge big plays potential, because you've got the glacial grenade that you've got the slide that makes, you can cover a lot of distance just with that. Then if you slide into the melee, then you're up on somebody just like a Mask of Bacchus without using an exotic, and then not to mention being right up on them, you could potentially boop them into a wall, kill them with damage, or you're there with a shotgun, fusion, another melee. I've actually been running the Syntheseps with the Titan, and between that and having a barricade where you can take a second, get your bearings, and then go after the next guy, makes it where you can have that big play potential from the Titan, and there's no getting away from that super. You're not getting away. It's just not.
And agreed, especially with the super. That I will admit, that's the one super I am a little cautious and nervous about, the Behemoth. I treat that one with a little bit more respect. Unfortunately, I'm more willing to peek out against that Warlock one, because I know if I get a good shot, I could pop it in the head. I kind of feel that maybe for my Warlock mains out there, I got a buddy, his name's Creature. He's a Warlock main. He's been hating it for a while, what they've been doing, but maybe giving the Warlock a little bit more damage
resistance.
Probably a little bit more damage resistance. Yeah, it's a little squishy. Maybe a little bit more damage resistance, but I'm not in controls. I'm not. It's their world, and we're just playing in it. Go ahead.
I'll say from the Warlock on the Stasis Super, you can make some huge plays with that, because your teammate could freeze somebody. If you pulse anywhere on the map, they're dead if they're frozen.
Yeah.
Instantly. Round corners, doesn't matter. You can be around a corner, behind a wall, and under something, and behind a barricade, you're still going to die. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
With that super, and it's nice that they did that with that particular one, but yeah, it does not shine because it, like you said, I feel a lot more comfortable poking that one, and I'll actually kill a silence and squall. I've been killing them all weekend trading with the Jotun. If you hit the Jotun shot when you hear that first charge up from the hunter super, then it's going to sit there and burn damage them through the rest of their resilience in the super and take them out.
I understand. So right after he throws that first sickle, you're already charged up to the point where the rockets fire from Jotun before he gets the second sickle out, correct?
Yeah, well, he's going to get the second sickle out, and you're going to die.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
But you're still going to ultimately bring him down. Understood. Yeah, that's a lot of weapons that we are seeing make either brushing off the cobwebs or, basically being revived. Jotun's been around, for a little bit lingering, but we're seeing more application with that gun. One gun real quickly that we see, or I've seen personally, I know Jay has as well, Telesto. Telesto has been still utilized at a point where it's pretty effective for some individuals.
Don't sleep on Merciless.
Yeah. That's been another one I've seen. So again, I want to just give a point that this is the play of the week portion that you're seeing. This is just me going through it. This is just the best one I picked on the fly real quick, but I just put the email in chat right now that you can send me your 30-second clip. Kind of keep it at the maximum of 30-second. MP4 is best. I can change it if need be to something else that could be shown in the show. But we will have that clip replayed over and over again, and we will give our thoughts on what we think about it, what we think is being utilized about this clip, and maybe even some sort of, like I said, I want to have different guests on each and every week to give you their perspective on what they're taking and even their big play potential. So I have to give a big thank you to real quickly to all you guys showing up, and a big thank you to the two gentlemen I've had on to me tonight. Like, again, this is not something I ever planned on doing. It's been a thought, but it's been so meek. Lono, the headmaster of the SNTR network had kind of given me a really blessed opportunity, and I want to give it back in the best way I can. If it's bringing on individuals that play PvP to give help in situations that I'm not a pro at. I'm not an ambassador of the Crucible. I'm another player, an avid player. I emphasize great teamwork, and that's where I've been most successful. I get on teams like myself that want to win, that are hungry, and that will stay somewhat disciplined. Mistakes are made, and it's understandable, but teamwork is something I've wanted to emphasize in this show. I think the two guests I had today are a big part of a reason of my success within the Crucible and within Trials more specifically. So I want to give them a quick spotlight. Sweet, go ahead, shout out yourself and anything else you'd like to say. I really appreciate you being on tonight.
I appreciate the opportunity, man. If you're not currently in the freaking community, feel free to hop on in. We're hanging out at twitch.tv /freaking sweet, no spaces, just the same as my gamer tag. And we love to help people out as best we can. I love getting people their first flawless. I wish we could do it more often. And then love giving people that don't have teams to get a shot that are decent players, just a team to run with as well. And it's been a pleasure to be able to do that.
Yeah, man, you helped me when I was looking for a team that one night, and we ended up building a pretty decent, friendship within Trials, and that's really something I have always been kind of fond about Destiny, is that it will bring, groups of people together that you probably wouldn't have been suspected to be anything relatable in real life in terms of, commonality. So, yeah, man, I'm extremely appreciative of meeting you throughout Trials and your insight and what you brought to the show this evening. And I hope everyone watching either tonight or later on when this is just on YouTube, just hanging out, people can take what you said tonight and maybe even utilize it. A big part of I wanted viewers to take out of this show is just feel a little bit of confidence, because Trials, yes, is difficult, but with a cohesive team, with practice and time, anybody can go flawless. And that's really something I want to show, is to give people the opportunity to go flawless on their own. Go ahead, sorry.
Even 0.75s, a full team of them, if they work well together, they make good call-outs, they play smart, you can beat great teams all the way through a card.
And to highlight that point specifically, now is the time. You know, I dropped a few game 7s, and they were 0.9s, 1.0s. I'm okay at saying that, but they played better, and they weren't recos. They were just really good that game, and they wanted it. So if we can instill confidence like that into individuals that go in there, man, that funnel's going to get bigger. Hopefully when season 13 comes out, we'll have an even bigger funnel with Adept armor, new Adept weapons, an even bigger Adept weapon pool with PVE that would want to incentivize the PVE community to come in PvP, because there's a really cool mod a certain week. You know, I want it to be homogenized where everything's benefiting one another. Jay, you know, you don't need an intro, you don't need an outro. You've been very helpful to me in Trials. You've been a very close friend and someone that I've you know, kind of confide within my Trials cards, especially when I came to Xbox, as someone I can rely on as a great teammate. So please take a second, let everyone know. Again, I'm extremely appreciative of your time tonight, your time in the past, and yeah, take the floor.
Yeah, man. Well, I just want to say, you know, thanks for having us. You know, it's been an honor, you know, to, you know, really shed some like insight and some, you know, some positives about Trials of Osiris, because, you know, the past couple of weeks with the cancellations and the delay, you know, it really put a kind of a damper on the Trials, you know, aspect of the game. So anything that we can do to, you know, uplift that community, or, you know, want to step into Trials for like the first time and, you know, run a car with either me or you. You know, usually, you know, if you want to find me, you know, all I gotta do is look for Wolverine, because usually we're running together.
But find him on Xbox as well. You know, Total Alpha, just how it's spelled. You know, got a space in the middle. You know, it's just finding these connections in this community. You never know. You could just kick it off with someone just based on chemistry and not have nothing to do with kill death. Your kill death will repair itself when you got great chemistry and great teamwork with people.
Yeah. That's one thing with me and you both, and you know, I think Sweet can agree on this. You know, when you surround yourself with, you know, with good chemistry, you know, the KD will come. You know, the KD will grow, and you know your flawless wins are gonna, you know, shoot through the roof. You just surround yourself with, you know, a good chemistry team that know how to play together. You know, and like you said, you know, losing to games, you know, 0.9s and 0.1s, you know, so on and so forth. You know, that's going to happen when you play a really good chemistry team. Agreed.
You know, I can't thank everyone enough for being here tonight. I didn't know what turnout to expect. I knew I was going to mess up with the first stream and putting everything in. OBS is crazy, and I'm getting the hang of it. I know it's a little sloppy right now. Bear with me a little bit. But again, I really appreciate you all being here. It truly means a lot to me. And I'm going to have new guests every week. Reach out to me on Xbox, on PC as well. If you think that you can, you know, add a little insight to this show, let's play a little Crucible. It doesn't have to. We got to play Trials together, but let's play a little bit of Crucible. Let's speak. Let me know a little bit about you, so I can interview you just as much as I interviewed these two guys. I played with them enough. I know what they like. I know where they kind of lean, and I know where to play a certain way where I can benefit not just myself, but benefit themselves as well. So again, reach out to me, reach out to Sweet, reach out to Total Alpha. And again, you know, like, share, and subscribe this to pretty much anywhere you can. As well, the tier systems, I want to continue to honor the person who gave me this opportunity. SNTR Network patrons, you know, you got your badge on YouTube, you got your Patreon, soon to be within the portal on SNTR Network itself. You know, you got your tier 1 or higher, submit your play of the week. If you're VIP or higher, shoot me a message if you feel like you think you could add a little bit to the show. Again, you don't need to be a sweat lord. You don't need to be flawless habitually. If you play it, you have an opinion, and I value that. So again, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to freaking Sweet. Thank you to Total Alpha. Guys, you know, again, say goodbye for him. I really appreciate you being here. Take it easy, everybody.
Yeah, take care, guys.